I have an amazing couple here, Paul and Lizzy. I'm just so grateful that they are in my presence. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just grateful to be in their presence because they are just an amazing couple. I have them here today because we are actually talking about the brand new course that we dropped, Just Dating University. And this lovely couple actually went through it before. Now, let me give a caveat. They went through a version that was like version 0001. This version that we bring into y'all is next level. So we can talk more about that later. But I would love to get y'all perspective, Paul and Lizzy, just on your experience going through Just Dating, because the content that we have for the university is the same. That's not changing. The only thing that's changing is like course work for every different lesson we have, things like that. But I would love to know from y'all perspective, going back, and you may have to try to go back to when you first joined. Yeah. Like, what was the biggest problem? And if problem isn't the right word, we can figure out another word. But what was the biggest problem happening in your relationship that led y'all to interest in Just Dating? And maybe it's not a problem, but what caused y'all to be interested in joining Just Dating back in the day?
Yeah, I can answer. So I think just like being in a new relationship, and especially like a Christian relationship and trying to godly date, there's not a lot of like, I guess, information out there on how to do it. So this is my first relationship. So I just didn't really know what I was doing. And I think just seeing that it was available was what kind of interested me in the group and like pushed me to be like, Paul, let's like join this. Cause I was just like, I guess like I didn't really know a lot. So I knew that it would be something that I'll learn a lot and would just help us grow in our relationship.
You said so many good things. First of all, I just got to stop because you said two things. One, this is your first relationship. You didn't really know what you were doing. I felt the same way when I started dating Pauline. That wasn't my first relationship, but that was my first relationship as a Christian. So I felt the same way, like, yo, I don't know what I'm doing out here. And then the second thing you said that is really interesting, we've been doing this course for 5 years now, and I feel like this is a theme. This is a theme that happens. You kind of had to convince Paul. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
It wasn't, I don't think I necessarily had to convince him much, but I would say I was more like pressed about it. I was more like on it. Like, we have to go every single week. We cannot miss it. I'm just the one who like brought it up and like showed interest in it first.
Yeah. And I think Lizzy, it's like when you hear about certain groups, or because there's always books about dating and etc. But I kind of was trying to feel out the authenticity behind it. Like, would we actually get practical examples of a healthy Christian relationship? And I think we found that through the group and through the lessons that you guys taught each week.
What do you feel like? So I thank you for sharing that. Yeah. What about our group was authentic, or you felt was practical? Like, it may not be one thing, but you can share one thing or two things. Like, what about it made it that for you?
Yeah. I think the most practical thing was, or I guess what we applied from everything, was the questions after each session. That was the hardest part because we would touch on topics like marriage or sex or friendships, etc. And then we would have follow-up questions about that. And that's kind of where the real work started, because, it's just like when you are in class. I mean, everyone learns differently, but for me, I'm very hands-on. Like, so those types of questions that were asked were very specific, and it helped to uncover things that Lizzy and I didn't talk about before. So I think that was one of the things that made it like, okay, if you're taking advantage of these courses, that you should really be intentional about the questions and answering them each week too, because there was things that I thought that I had knew about Lizzy that I learned, but then also it brought up areas in our relationship that we needed to improve on, and also be challenged in from a biblical standpoint, so that it could drive us both closer to Jesus. So
that's a blessing. And that's one of the things that we really strive for our group to do, is honestly make it easier for couples to know one, what they're doing, but two, is this the person that I should be looking to get married with? Because one of the most valuable things we have in this life is time. And it's nothing worse than going through a relationship 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, and you realize, man, that was a waste of my time. Like, if I would have known this about this person, or if I would have done this, I would have ended the relationship a while ago, or vice versa. Like, man, like now that I know this about this person, I definitely want to move forward to marriage. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I think even in like my past relationships, like they weren't Christian relationships, they were like kind of worldly relationships. And I'm not even gonna lie, I wish I had something like this in those relationships too, to your point, so I did not waste time. That I kind of knew exactly.
Bro, I've been thinking about how much money I wasted on past.
How much money, how much time, listen, how many dates we went on, like, and I think even in like, you know, the Black community too, or at least where I was, I didn't really have any examples of like a healthy relationship, period. Like not even just a Christian relationship. And that's why I love everything about the courses, the modules, and even what we went through, because not only was it a healthy Christian viewpoint of what a relationship should be, but just in general, a healthy relationship. Like these are the types of questions you should ask while you were dating, not after the fact.
Right.
So that's what I love the most.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Now, Paul, you mentioned some of your hesitations about joining the group, like authenticity, things like that. Lizzy, did you have any hesitations about it, or were you sold from day one?
I was sold from day one. I don't know. I just love stuff like this. So I was just like, oh, people are gonna tell us, like, you know, give us like information on how to do this. Like, I want to sign up. I think like at going through the group, I didn't realize it was going to be as hard as it was. So that was it. It was like, at first I was like super excited to like join like every meeting, but then it was just like, I was still excited and still wanted to join, but I was more like, oh man, we're gonna have to answer this question.
It's getting real now.
It's getting real,
but it seemed all fun. But listen, it's gonna pull on your heartstrings.
And so I started to be like, dang, like these questions are deep. It was just like it was just way deeper and more involved than like I expected. But I think that was good because I feel like those like the things we learned and like those questions and the things we got to talk about is what like set the foundation in our relationship. And like even till today, sometimes like I think about stuff that we had talked about in the group, and I like think back to like, oh, this is like how we can, you know, fix this problem, or like how we can talk through this or that, and just like different things that we talked about also early on come back up. So but yeah, I didn't have hesitations joining, but it was just continuing to come. That was the thing.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And that's something, by the time this airs, we'll have already done it, but we're going to have a webinar at the end of this month called Unlock Your Dream Relationship. And y'all watching this now, y'all already know about it. But that's one of the things we're going to talk about is people don't realize there's real work that needs to come into play for you to have a healthy relationship. And everybody has the dream relationship that they want, but they don't want to do the work that goes into that. So shout out to y'all for doing that. So now that y'all went through the program, how did your perception change about taking, you know, Just Dating University?
I guess I would say like do it. I don't know. Like I think I'm just like really glad I went through it. So my perception hasn't changed much. Just the fact that like I'm really grateful for going through it. And I also have like told friends about it. I'm just like, this is what I've learned here, and like you should try to join it, and just things like that as well. So like also taking like what I've learned and like applying it to like my friends and you know, their relationships as well.
Well, let me follow up on that. What was, and Paul, you can answer this too after Lizzy, what was the biggest takeaway that you took, if there is like one thing that like, man, this really stuck out to me?
I would say the communication aspect. I feel like that's a big thing in like all relationships, and people are always like, you have to communicate, but it's just like, how do you do that? So I feel like we kind of touched on communication in like all of our different sessions in a way. Just by like different topics and how to communicate on those different topics, and then as well as the questions and communicating through those questions. So I think the fact that like we have to communicate and knowing how to communicate was like the major thing I took away from it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's a lot of things excuse me, that we touched on throughout everything that kind of spoke to me. I really enjoyed, I'm not sure if you guys plan to do this again, but I really enjoyed the breakout sessions because it allowed us to just ask very direct questions about direct situations, like how to prepare for marriage and how to, just like navigate that. That was a big topic that I resonated with the most because now that you've dated and you're kind of getting this information, you're, trying to put God at the center. Obviously, you're showing up every week. Then what's next after that? Once you decided like this person is my person, and I think that helped me the most. And I think the entire program helps you to decide like, okay, is this the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with? And I think you owe that to that person, right? I think it's just kind of like at church, our pastor was talking about like the dart that I guess like the target that is always moving. Like, are you shooting at a moving target or what? Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Yeah, I loved every bit of it. I loved every topic. I agree, communication was good. So,
Paul, what would you say to the guy who's watching right now, the boyfriend who his girlfriend really wants them to join, and he's just like not really interested? He's like, we can figure this out on our own, or he just ain't trying to put up the money. Like, what would you say to him?
Yeah, no, I would say that number one, you're gonna get a community from it. I think that's the biggest thing. Just getting community, being able to lean on the curriculum, lean on you guys for expert advice, because obviously, although you may know a lot, men, there's a lot that you can gain from this, and also, I think that it feels good to walk through it together and to see the progress that you made in your relationship, because anything that will produce growth is always uncomfortable in the beginning, right? It's always something that's stretching. And so you have to be available to be in a place where you are uncomfortable so that you can learn and do that together. Like, you're not doing it alone, you're doing it with your partner, someone who you love and you care about. So if you truly care about your relationship, do it, man. Take the course. Just like Nike, just do it. You feel me? So
Yeah, no, that was good. You was preaching there. So, Lizzy, what would you say? It just be in general, like to anybody that may be on the fence to joining.
I say that you don't only like learn about like how to do better in your relationship, but I think you learn a lot about yourself.
ooh,
Like, I
yes.
think like when we were going through the questions, a lot of the times, like even like answering the questions, it's like, dang, I didn't even ask myself this question.
Yes.
So you're asking, your partner something, and you're just like, wait, what would I say back? Like, I don't even know. So I think like that it helped me grow, like not only with like Paul, but also grow in who I am. So I think if you want to take it just for that aspect, just to know that like even if like that relationship doesn't work out, or if like like if that relationship doesn't work out, at the end of the day you still have those tools and still have like that knowledge, and you still have like the self growth. And then also I think like it's just good to put that like effort into your relationship. Like, I think if you're able to make it through like the all of the courses and just all of the questions and all of the hard work, it shows that like you have something there, and like it's always something that you can look back at and pull from. So I say just like, why not, honestly?
No, that's good because you need to like have some type of grit in your relationship to last. And I think this is that. Like, this is how you produce that strength, that endurance, is by doing things like this. So
Yeah, nah, that's so good. I mean, everything y'all said, I co-sign, not just because it's my group, but I really do believe, and because here's the thing, Pauline and I, and y'all probably remember us saying this, but we started this group when we were dating. So everything that we put into the course, it's things that we got to experience for ourselves. So I agree, like when you're reading those questions, it's going to read you. Like you're going to be like, dang, like I got to be better at this, or I got to do better at that. Or like, I can't expect, my girl or my guy to do this if I'm not doing that. So yeah, y'all hit so many points. Thank y'all so much, man. This was so good. If you're watching this, I hope that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a chance. Because here's the thing, you deserve to invest in yourself. Whether your boyfriend wants to do it, whether your girlfriend wants to do it, like, you deserve for yourself to know the information that can help you have a better relationship and ultimately lead to your dream relationship one day, whether it's with the person you're with now or in the future. You're going to have the best relationship possible because you put in the work required. So definitely encourage you to sign up. You got a few more days to sign up, and I hope to see you at Just Dating University.